into the CHGO Bears Podcast. Inching closer and closer to the NFL draft. Look at that guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., if you're watching on YouTube. Just looks like such a good player, good prospect. Guy joining me on the show today looks pretty good himself. Mark Carman. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman with you today. We are hoping that Greg Brack Jr. is alive and well. Haven't heard from him, although I have noticed that he's back to being a Bears fan. He has been tweeting relentlessly about Caleb Williams this morning. So I guess we got our guy back, just not on this show yet, Carm.
You know, it's interesting when people try to avoid their emotions and deflect and talk about something else because they're not man enough to go into the pain. It's a tried and true male strategy for years on end. The real manliness of today is do you actually get into the feelings? And Greg Braggs is not a real man as he continues to skirt his pain and the boilers going down, and they'll never be back there because we all know that they were just there because of Zach Edey. But, you got to be excited with Marvin Harrison as a topic today, Hoge. And I know we're doing some draft potentials to start the show today, and we're going to be checking in Phoenix too. So a lot to do today. I'm excited.
Yeah, Bo Brack from PHNX does our awesome Cardinals show over there in Arizona. I believe that Braggs is also not far away from PHNX, so maybe he'll make a surprise appearance. Who knows? But we're going to bring Bo in. We've had him on the show before. Everything seems to start with that 4 pick. Maybe not start there, but it seems like the Cardinals are, because instead of the first team that doesn't really need a quarterback, they're the ones that are the wild card in all this. What they're going to do, Marvin Harrison Jr., do they let someone else trade up for a quarterback? It's going to be super interesting. So we're going to hear where Bo and everybody at PHNX is on this. By the way, we are just over 500 subscribers away now from our goal of 54,000. Help us get to that number before draft day. We're also inching in on our goal of 40,000 on Twitter at CHGO_Bears. Please go give us a follow on the Twitter account as well. Always got a lot of content up there on the Twitter account. If you miss a show, you can see some clips. Also got the easy link to join us in London, True Fan Travel, which we announced yesterday. We are going to London, and you can come with us on our trip to London. It's going to be awesome.
I've watched our video on going to London about 1,000 times in the last day. I really think we did a good job with that. Shout out Jake Flanagan, our GM, for all the creativity there. And, of course, shout out me. Amazing dance by me. Wow, what a performance. That was incredible.
You know, you had the umbrella going like you knew what you were doing.
I really
be concerned.
I really didn't know what I was doing, but I did lean into my ass and showing it off as best I could. And that proved to be, successful. There's a word. All right, Hoge, help us out. Get us to victory. Get me off my butt. And
well, why don't you talk about a draft prospect instead? So Bo's going to join us in, I don't know, about 15 minutes or so from PHNX. But before we get there, let's talk about Carm's prospect of the day. Who you got today?
So let's look at the defense. Let's look at another guy who can impact the defense. And he's a little bit undersized, but he's very physical and quick and twitchy. And we're talking about Jared Verse, who's got a great path to the NFL. I really respect guys that, weren't necessarily the 5-star recruit. In the case of Jared Verse, he was a 0-star recruit. Literally nobody wanted him. And he ended up at Albany, which is a school that I'm pretty sure no one's ever heard of. But he exploded there. His work ethic took off. He got way stronger, lived in the weight room, did it like 365 days in a row. Got strong again, put on weight, added onto his speed, and dominated at Albany. First of all, by the way, this guy was a Pennsylvania track champion in the 4x400 relays. Then he ends up at Albany. Then he transfers to Florida State, where he plays 2 more years. He had a redshirt year, 2 at Albany, 2 at Florida State. And what a lot of teams, and what's interesting with the Bears, literally for anyone, but he plays both up and down, hand in the dirt, straight up. He can do anything, so he's going to fit into any defense. And yes, big-time athlete as I'm teeing up, which is number 4 on the list. He made Bruce Feldman's 2020 Freaks list at number 26. I was 27. He was 26. That's impressive. And defensive coordinator for FSU called him this is the best defensive lineman I've ever coached. So he could have come out last year and been a first-round pick, but he stayed to hone his game, which I don't know how much it actually helped his draft stock, Hoge, because I think it was more so that he just wanted to be more NFL ready when he came in. How much higher up he's going to go this year than last year, I don't know the answer to that, but this is a guy that just wanted to get better before he came into the league. Interesting dude. He's going to be a first-class fit in that locker room. A lot of things to like about Jared Verse.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's number 10 on our Bears 100 right now, which right on that edge of number 9, right? Like maybe you're reaching just a touch if he's there at 9, but maybe you trade back. He's still available, but he's right there, kind of where we think that first defensive player might go in the draft. But I like Jared Verse. I think he's a better schematic fit than Dallas Turner. I don't know that he has as much upside as Dallas Turner, but there is a lot to like about Jared Verse. His tape is a lot of fun to watch. Straight bully, in my opinion, in a good way on the field. He's not afraid to go right through offensive tackles. That speed to power rush. A couple times on tape, not saying this is who I'm comparing him to, but a couple times you watch that speed to power rush and you're going, I remember guy that wore 52 that did that at the NFL level for the Chicago Bears. Just reminiscing a little bit there. And so you'll see him often just straight up push an offensive tackle, like straight back into the quarterback as he's rushing. Also solid against the run. So if you're talking about, he's not as big as Montez Sweat, but similar type of player, strong against the run, strong against the pass. The motor runs hot the same way that Montez Sweat, just going every single play. If there is a negative, and the reason why he's not going, number 1 overall like Myles Garrett did, that bend around the edge isn't quite to that level. He's not going to necessarily just beat you around the edge with his speed. So that is the knock on him a little bit, but he's got versatility to stand up if you're asking him to, drop back in coverage, kick inside maybe as a change up. So I think he'd be a great fit for what the Bears want to do on their defense. Well,
and so you're talking about the bull rush part of it. He did that for the first time at Albany, where he's going up against a 335-pound guy. And he didn't, at least what I was reading up on, he didn't realize that he had the strength to do it yet as he's building his frame. And then all of a sudden, okay, let me just try to run through this dude who's 60, 70, 80 pounds heavier than me. And he knocks him straight back into the quarterback. And so he realized, like, whoa, I have capabilities now that I didn't have, a year ago. And I just think his confidence started to skyrocket. But it's not just that he's strong, he's quick too. So it's just, I'm seeing in the comments, like he feels a little bit tall at 9 and maybe so. So, do the Bears look to add draft picks on? Are they interested in Jared Verse maybe a little bit further back? Who knows? But if they are going to go defense, this is definitely a guy that you would be looking strong at.
Yeah, I just think that he falls in this category of maybe a group of 5 players that might not quite be at the blue chip level that the Bears are hoping they get at 9, but you could potentially move back and add more draft capital. And, other guys that personally I put sort of in that area, Jared Verse being one, Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon, being another one. Maybe the second tier of offensive tackles like Olu Fashanu. Honestly, even Dallas Turner, who I don't think is as perfect as a fit within the Bears defense, but his upside's so high, Carm, that, if you move back, you add more draft capital, I'm fine with that. And probably the best of all these players, it's just the position that's kind of holding them back for me, and especially the Bears already having 2 of these guys at the position. But Brock Bowers is in that category for me too, that at some point if he's still sitting there, like you move back to 14, 15 or something like that, and he's still sitting there, like I know it's a luxury pick, but at some point you got to take the best player available on that board. And Latu would also be another one of those edge players that I would consider taking after a trade back. I just have no idea, obviously, what the Bears doctors feel about Latu. And that's the type of player that it wouldn't completely shock me if you found out later he wasn't even on their board.
Well, let's have the Brock Bowers conversation, because there's a lot of people that look at him as maybe even the most talented dude in the draft outside of, say, Caleb at the top. People love Brock Bowers. And then you look at what the Bears have done. You've got Cole Kmet. You went out and you signed Gerald Everett. So are you taking – that's why you're calling it a luxury pick, which is obviously true. But can we say that the Bears are not necessarily in love with Brock Bowers because they went and signed Everett? Or that they love guys a lot more? Because – one dude who can be really friendly for a guy like Caleb is a tight end that can get open and then does something with it afterwards. And a lot of everybody has seen the Kelsey Mahomes thing. So, that's obviously a little bit tall, but people are pointing at Brock Bowers as a dude who's going to step in and be successful immediately. So, which has me intrigued a lot about Brock Bowers.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're drafting Brock Bowers early, you're hoping you're at least getting Sam Laporta.
Right.
From, who did what he did with the Lions last year. Now I have to say though, that's relatively rare. I mean, tight ends typically do not come on the scene like Sam Laporta did last year and make that big of a difference so early. So that is, but if you're going to use that draft capital that high, I mean, that's what you have to expect. The reason why I like Brock Bowers opposite of Cole Kmet so much is because he really is more of that tight end, that move tight end that Cole Kmet had to play both of those positions last year. And by the end of the year, he was so beat up that and especially with what Shane Waldron's trying to run on offense, you're going to see a lot of those two tight end sets, which is why they went out and got Gerald Everett, came over from Seattle, worked with Shane Waldron, both with the Seahawks and with the Rams before that. So that makes a lot of sense, but okay. As good as Gerald Everett might be, he's not one of the top tier tight ends in the league. And if you got a chance to draft one of those guys who could become that after a year of learning behind Gerald Everett and is more of a long-term solution there, you like that.
Well, Matt Nagy makes a great point in the chat saying you can never have enough tight ends on the roster. I mean, maybe they can draft Adam Shaheen again and relive that.
Well,
and
some say you should have 10 tight ends on the roster.
Right. Ed O'Bradovich used to talk about that. We have 17 tight ends. So, maybe just 3 tight ends could be a move that Poles would do. It doesn't seem likely that the Bears are going the Bowers route, but if he comes out and has a great rookie year, it's going to bug me just a little bit that the Bears pass on a dude that seemingly could make this offense sing.
Yeah, but it wouldn't bug you as much as if Braxton Jones really struggles and you passed on Joe Alt and he's amazing. It wouldn't bother you as much as if the Bears, Roman Dunze, sitting there at 9 and they pass on him, they trade back instead, and then he's rookie of the year instead of Caleb Williams. Like those are the ones that would hurt you more than if Brock Bowers goes off and has a Sam Laporta type season.
That's true. That's true. It would be on the level of my performance last night against my nemesis Rick Aguayo, who beat me 6'2", 6'1", and one of the worst performances and choke jobs that I've ever had to answer Dr. Truth's thing. It would be a high level of bother at that point. That's right.
That's a long list of bad losses though that you've had.
I've been hot lately. Last night was so bad and so depressing, and I literally walked off the court and thought about, maybe I just shouldn't allow myself to do the podcast for a week as punishment, but I decided that you guys need me, so I'm here.
All right. Then it would just left me here. Braggs is crying about Purdue, Nick's in Florida.
He's moved on to Caleb.
He is. Real quick note on that. I right before the show, I did go back because I'm gonna be honest. I went to bed last night before the game. I was like, I'm good. So I didn't watch Braggs in the stands or Boilers on the stands. Braggs in the stands is the network, as he likes to tell you. I checked it out right before the show. that was a tough start to a show. Just the amount of sadness that, and he was putting on a brave face, but boy, I felt for him.
Well, when you know that you'll never, deep down that you'll never be back, it hurts. It hurts that much more.
See, I don't know if I believe that. We're gonna have a little bit. We're gonna have more of a talk later in the show about tough losses.
All right.
But I think Purdue's gonna be just fine. By the way, in the meantime, whatever brags, I'm assuming he brought 6 suitcases down to Arizona, like he usually does. And whatever he needs cleaned when he gets back, he can take the CD1 price cleaners, because CD1, well, their customers save over 30% on their dry cleaning bill by switching over to CD1 price cleaners. They have simple, transparent service. Other cleaners charge a different price for every garment type. Plus, they have upcharges, and you may pay a different price each time you visit. I know the place I used to get my dry cleaners, I didn't even know what I was paying at all, anytime, which is why the transparency is so good. CD1 price cleaners, they just charge one low price for any garment. Yep, even sports jerseys, they'll wash those for you. The same one low price. They got fast turnaround. CD1 price cleaners has your order ready the same or next day. Other cleaners takes up to 2 to 4 days to have your clean garments ready. And they'll give you text alerts if you want those, ready for pickup alerts right there on your phone. If you want them, you can get them dry cleaning, wash and fold laundry, blankets, comforters, tailoring, alterations, leather cleaning, area rug cleaning if you need that too. Here's what you do. You go to visit CHGO.CD1one.com. The link is down there in the description on YouTube. CHGO.CD1.com. Once there, you can pick from an in-store coupon or online pickup and delivery coupon options.
And listen, daily fantasy sports, you want it, you love it, you need it, and you should be doing it with our friends at Prize Picks. The easiest and most exciting way to play your daily fantasy. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of players, the pros, the sharks. All you got to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch those winnings fly on into your bank account, which is sweet. Get in on the playoff action and win 100 times your money on Prize Picks, as you can bet on. Get involved with the playing round to give yourself some LeBron James. You know he's coming up short. Take that less than, because the Lakers are going to choke. Do that, and maybe you take. Let's go with more on DeMar DeRozan carrying the Bulls past the Atlanta Hawks in the 9-10 playoff game, the game we've all been waiting for. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Turn $10 into $1,000. Hoops, hockey, it's all there for you on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. This is what you do. You go to prizepicks.com/CHGO. Use the code CHGO. First deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com. 200 for 100. It's a beautiful thing. prizepicks.com/CHGO. Use the code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It is just that easy.
You can follow him on Twitter at Bo Brack. Does a great job hosting our PHNX Cardinals show. And you just look at him looking so good there. Phoenix.
Second best looking guy in ALLCITY outside of Nicholas Moriano right there. I mean, this guy's a babe magnet.
That's right. My wife hates it. She hates that I have to fend them all off. Like people wanting to get up the draft board, like teams wanting to get up and get our precious 4th overall pick.
Yeah. But this is why we wanted to have you on the show today, because I think the draft, I don't know if it starts with the Cardinals, but it seems like the craziness might start with the Cardinals. So we have some hypotheticals for you. I'm going to admit mine are half-hearted because I don't even really believe that the Bears should even consider doing this. I think Carm's a little bit more on board. I also think there's a 0.0001 chance that it actually does happen. But Bears fans are talking about it, so we're talking about it because that's what we do here on CHGO. Bo, first of all, where are you at with just what you're expecting? I know you guys have been talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. Forever. But now you got all these teams that may be trying to trade up. That awesome Monty Ossenfort video, which I know really came out last year, but recirculated here recently, which was really fun to watch him work the phones. Maybe he'll trade back again and then trade back up like he did last year? Where are you guys at on all this?
That Monty video, I felt like a hipster. I was like, I saw that before you guys even did. I felt like it was a band that I've been kind of holding on to that I saw first live. But as far as the 4th overall pick, myself, my co-host Johnny Venerable, like we're just bracing for the deal. It feels like it's inevitable at this point. I think that you've never seen the 4th overall pick as valuable as is right now. Like it could fetch, and it likely will fetch, a Trey Lance, San Francisco 49ers trade up where it's going to be the cost of potentially 3 first-round picks. And I think that that's the baseline. So when you talk about, Chicago potentially getting back up the board, that's kind of a scary negotiation to get into, especially when you've got in the NFC North a team that's got 2 first-round picks already in this draft in order to do so. So I think that Monty Ossenfort, as far as how he wants to rebuild this Arizona Cardinals team, he likes the idea of having multiple picks in this very talent-rich draft and then having assets in the future. That's how he likes to team build, where the fan base is more like, please get us the stud out of Columbus. Marvin Harrison Jr., he seems like he's the surest thing. He's been the surest thing in the last couple drafts, and they get kind of scared because of previous regimes and who hurt us before as far as general managers, potentially passing on a talent like that.
So the trade was, just for the record, the 49ers going to the Dolphins, first round pick in 21, 22, and 23, plus a third rounder in 22, and they went from 12 to 3, which in essence is what Minnesota would be doing here to move up to draft J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
I got a hard time believing they're going to do that, but let's just say that they are that desperate. They like J.J. McCarthy that much. Bo, the last time we saw you, it was a done deal. Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be a Cardinal. There was nothing to think about. I don't understand what's happened here. Do they not like him as much, or is it more that they just have changed their philosophy and just wanted, I guess, get as much assets as they can for the future?
I think, Carm, mostly it's about maximizing the 4th overall pick. And, I think that sticking and picking and taking a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best way to maximize that. Where I think the day was probably just 3 weeks and change where the Minnesota Vikings pulled off the deal with the Houston Texans to acquire another first-round pick. Nobody had the ammunition really that could get up the draft board, especially on the outside of the top 10 in order to do so, and they have it now. And it would be pretty shocking to see them acquire that and then not pull the trigger, balk at Monty Ossenfort's asking price. But, Sean Payton said it really well a couple weeks ago at the league meetings. It's great to be Monty Ossenfort right now because, one, you either stick and pick and you take the guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. and you look like a genius, or you trade down and you take a little flack in the court of public opinion. But for the most part, you're going to have assets to build your team now and build your team next draft season, just like he set himself up for success this draft.
So, all right, let's try to make this a somewhat realistic situation for the Bears. Which is probably going to take some unexpected things happening. But let me give you this hypothetical. So Caleb Williams goes number 1. Quarterback goes number 2. I guess it could be maybe a combination of both of these things. I don't know. The Patriots don't take a quarterback let's say Minnesota goes all the way up to 3 for some reason and takes J.J. McCarthy, or J.J. McCarthy goes to the Patriots.
Right.
And then
which is possible. Elliot Wolf reportedly likes J.J. McCarthy, which is crazy to me, over Drake May.
And what I always come back to, Bo, is that I feel like, look, these quarterbacks get pushed up the board for a reason. There's always all these hype about the quarterback, but almost always one of them falls. Almost always. Last year it happened with Will Levis. So I don't know who it's going to be this year. Maybe it's crazy with Drake May. I think that's more of a media thing that's souring on him a little bit than anything else. Maybe it's Jaden Daniels, whatever. But one of those guys falls, and all of a sudden 3 quarterbacks are off the board. Maybe not the one you thought with J.J. McCarthy, and there's an unexpected one falling. Are the phones still ringing as much as you think they are for the 4th pick?
No, they're not. Like once like the valuable comes from leaves one of those quarterbacks, like the hype train finally gets back on the rails and it slows down. Yeah, then Monty Ossenfort probably realizes it's not as valuable as it once was, and I think he would probably be more apt to go with just sticking and picking, right? And trying to get the best player available. And like kind of, I didn't really answer Carm's question, like what happened with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be the exception to the way that Monty Ossenfort wants the team built, because he wants to build, and you've heard, this, Hoge, you've stated it on the show several times, that NFL teams want to build through the trenches. They want to build from the trenches out, and that's how Monty Ossenfort wants to build his team. And Marvin was going to be the exception to it. It wasn't going to be like, okay, we're trying to decide between Marvin and Malik Neighbors or which wide receiver we like best. No, it's like Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be the exception to them going to maybe Joe Alt, or really kind of looking at some premium positions on the defensive side of the football. So, I think in that scenario, once it loses its value, I think that they would probably want to stick and pick, because then you don't have, and I know people want to debate whether the quarterback tax is real or whatever, but like once those kind of things that really boost this and take the 4th overall pick to making it its most valuable, if it comes back down, I don't think Monty Ossenfort's back in business.
So, okay, let me set Carm up here then. Now you're sticking and picking, but there's minutes ticking down on the clock, and you get a phone call, and Mark Carman has a trade proposal for you. He's now the general manager of the Chicago Bears, because the Bears actually secretly love Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
And they realize that they don't have to maybe give up 3 first-round picks to go up and get them. Now they're interested, and Carm has this trade ready to go and offer to you.
So, yeah, here. Look, I've got the listen.
There's no way you're gonna be able to get through your own trade here.
My God,
the more I'm looking at this, what did you do?
So the way you set it up was not how I have it. Like I don't. I don't see the Bears. We have to rewind back. Don't listen to what Hoge just said. I have it that Minnesota is desperate and they move up. They give the 11, the 23 this year. They give a 1st-round pick next year. And maybe they even have to throw in like one more later round pick in 25. They do the deal. So this happens. So now, for in my mind, the Chargers are sitting there and they don't love any of the receivers. They're not going that route. And so they're willing to move back. And the Bears give up the 9 this year and a 2nd and a 4th next year. And we get Marvin at the 5. That's the only way I see this happening. Yeah. I can't imagine the Bears coming anywhere close to doing what it would require. That's my scenario.
Your deals with the Chargers. Your deals with the Chargers. The Cardinals are dealing just directly with the Vikings. And yeah, right. I see that scenario too, because the reports are that Jim Harbaugh is in the Chargers is probably the most motivated to get down the draft board and acquire assets to kind of start that rebuild. So, look, I mean that's I don't think that that's actually unrealistic. If you're looking at it as a 4-way, and that's not what it is. It's 2 separate trades. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. And that's I think the reality that Cardinals fans have to deal with is like once they trade out of 4, like they're not in the catbird seat for Marvin Harrison Jr. anymore. And there's going to be like if somebody wants to get up, they're going to have to pay a premium to get back up the draft board. And now they're going to be doing it from 11. They're not going to be doing it from 9 like the Bears, who are probably going to be, closer striking distance and more kind of motivated to make a deal with Chicago than the Cardinals at 11.
Let me just throw a question out to both of you, actually. Why are the Patriots sitting this out? If this is the capital that somebody's willing to do, I don't understand why New England's not way more motivated to do this than Arizona. Does that make any sense to anybody?
I agree. Like, I think Washington, too. Like, the Washington's been out of the mix. It feels like seemingly the entire offseason that they've been dead set on taking a quarterback. And, I mean, obviously, that's where you're seeing that organizations realize that you can't get anywhere if you don't have the most important position in sports figured out. And if they have conviction in that one of these 4 guys can be a franchise caliber guy and they've got to take a swing at the plate, then they're going to do so. But I agree. Like, I think it was maybe Albert Breer was reporting that, it would take more than 3 first-round picks to even get the Patriots to think about trading out of it. And that's pretty wild. And that would be the only deal that's possible because you can only do 3 drafts worth of picks. The Minnesota Vikings would be able to get into that conversation.
All right, so I made that way more confusing. I didn't realize Carman was going a completely different direction. So let me reset all that up with my trade proposal to try to make this more realistic for our Bears Cardinals trade, which was the homework assignment that was handed out by the teacher earlier this morning. So I'm just gonna, again, this is under the scenario that like the phones aren't ringing as much as you think because 3 quarterbacks came off the board. The 4th quarterback, pick your one, is falling, and there's just not as much excitement as everyone thought there was a lot of. So I'm calling up and I'm offering you this trade, which is the 9th overall pick, obviously, and then 2 second-round picks next year. So the Bears have their 2nd-round pick, and then they acquired Carolina's in the trade last year in which they got DJ Moore. So does moving back 5 spots and acquiring 2 2nd-round picks next year move you off of Marvin Harrison Jr. in the scenario where you might not have as many options as you maybe thought?
Yeah, and I'm going to look pretty greedy and selfish here by saying no to that pretty easily. I don't think he's moving off without a future first. And like it's a lot closer. And I think you're also still within, a striking distance of a Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors or Joe Alt, whoever they like. But it's still taking you, out of to get a really rock solid, big time playmaker. I think that they would probably view Marvin Harrison Jr. as in sticking and picking as more valuable than a couple 2nd rounders.
So I knew you were going to say that. So if I change it to next year's 1st, and then the Bears 2nd, not the Panthers 2nd, but the Bears 2nd. So, obviously this is part of trading draft capital. You're kind of projecting where teams are going to end up a year from now, even though you don't exactly know. But I think most of the world would agree that the Panthers are going to have a worse record than the Bears at this point. So that's the Bears 1st and 2nd round picks next year, plus that 9.
Yeah. You got any more graphics made? Just in case.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. That's it. That's the final offer. Look, I as I said, I think that the future first is really appealing to Monty Ossenfort. Now, and I don't think he's seen, you can't really project future first. You can try to do it, right? And they thought that they had a lottery ticket in the Houston Texans 1st round pick this year, and it turned out to be almost, it was 27th overall. So, whether it's the Bears or the Panthers, obviously the Panthers is way more appealing right now, but I think that probably gets a deal done. I do. The future first is key. You're falling back 5 spots. Probably pretty close to the trade chart. I think it probably still beats the trade chart. And I think most general managers are looking to do that. And yeah, I think that is something that it works in lockstep with what Monty Ossenfort wants to do as far as how he team builds.
Has Marvin played this? Has Marvin played this wrong as far as the workouts that he has not been willing to do before the combine? No. Or is this just noise and his stock hasn't gone down at all?
No, I don't think his stock, I think it's been rock solid he's got 2 years worth of tape that just like Caleb Williams, you turn on the tape and you see it, and he's 6'4", he's out jumping everybody. He's quarterback proof. He's making plays with CJ Stroud. He's making plays with Kyle McCord, who's now the quarterback at Syracuse now. It's just, I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. he probably would have been the top non-quarterback in the draft last year. And he just kind of parlayed that into being able to kind of have a unique pre-draft process. And he's just kind of navigating it and not putting himself in a position to hurt his stock at any point. And that's him working out or him talking or whatever. I guess that's the only thing that would be detrimental in his draft stock after the last 2 years he had for Ohio State.
Now, just to calm down the masses here, I do not believe that the Bears would do what was just proposed or should do what was just proposed. That's kind of the point of this exercise, in that you have, in fact, I just got done doing this morning. We did on Hoge and Johns. We were weighing wide receiver versus offensive tackle versus defensive line at number 9, not even talking about a trade up. And our consensus there was that wide receiver should be 3rd on that list. let alone moving up for Marvin Harrison Jr., giving up future draft capital when there's other guys, not just like Rome Odunze at 9, but it's the deepest of these positions we're talking about through the rest of the draft as well. So we brought Bo in here to see what it's like on the Cardinal side of things and what they're actually asking for. And at the end of the day, that came to a price that personally, Carman, I don't know if you disagree with, but I would not do that.
I would do it if I was convinced that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to the, going to be a perennial All-Pro. If I thought that and he's sitting there and I can get him, well, dude, you've got Marvin and Keenan and DJ and 2 tight ends. I would not be screaming at Ryan Poles if the Bears went and did that at all. I'd be like, whoa. You just added in arguably, hopefully, the 2 best players in the draft, and your offense is going to sing, and the Bears are in a land that they've never been in before. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't hate it if it did.
I do want to say this. I don't think that normally the Arizona Cardinals would be these like tight of negotiators. Like somehow Monty Ossenfort, the way that draft season is played out, has put him in the high roller room, the high limit, blackjack room. And you'll go in there and you'll see the hands people are playing, and you'll be like, holy crap. And we're talking about the fourth overall pick here, and you're sitting at 9. You're like, there should be a scenario where you can get up, but you got a team in the Minnesota Vikings that's willing to go in there and put chips down on the table, where I don't think anybody else can really play in that sandbox. And that's what's different about this. And I think Monty Ossenfort has all the leverage with the ability to either just stick and pick, or take kind of a historic haul for a pick that hasn't really been in that position before. We've seen it like 1, 2, 3 before. We even mentioned the Trey Lance Niners deal, but the 4th overall pick has never been this valuable. And so like teams like the Bears who want to, maybe get back up for another top 5 pick, I think the price would be too steep to Hoge's point, especially when you got guys like Neighbors, Alt, and Odunze on the board that probably can play pretty close to that level.
Bo, 2 more for you. First of all, how far away are the Cardinals?
In a conference that's kind of down, it's not nearly as stout as the AFC. I think that with a good draft, this is a team that could be contending for a playoff spot as early as next season. Like their schedule, it's the 8th easiest schedule going in the league. They should have gone 4-4 with Kyler Murray returning, but Matt Prater misses 2 field goals at the end of the regular season finale. He goes 3-5 with one of the bottom feeder rosters, and they've done nothing but raise the floor on the defensive and offensive side of the football. And with 11 draft picks, and Monty Ossenfort's shown the ability to find talent in the draft, especially with 6 top 100 picks, maybe more depending on a trade. I think that they're going to continue to infuse this roster with talent and be right back in the mix as early as this year. Probably could be a 7-10, 8-9, 9-8 team.
I think we were surprised with the contract that the Cardinals gave Justin Jones. 3 years, little over $31 million.
Y'all lost your mind.
$26.7 million guaranteed. What was your reaction when that signing came through?
The defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, the room last year, is arguably the least talented or the worst position group this league has seen in years. Like the defensive line, the interior defensive line, they had guys that would be lucky to find themselves on a UFL team. Like it was really bad, and it suffered a ton of injuries. And Justin Jones is not worth that amount of money, but the Arizona Cardinals aren't paying anybody outside of Kyler Murray for the next 2 to 3 years. This year, like Justin Jones's cap hit's not that bad. I think it's somewhere around 6.5, and then next year it goes up a little bit, and then after that, there's no guaranteed money on it. So it's kind of a 2-year contract, pretty front loaded, or loaded in the second year. What they have the luxury of doing, they're literally paying nobody. It's Kyler Murray and then just a bunch of like rookie contracts. So they had the luxury of doing that, overspending on a position group of need, and they just wanted to raise the floor. They didn't get Justin Jones to be their guy, to be their game-wrecking war daddy on the defensive line. He was just going to be a guy that's going to be a rotational piece with Bilal Nichols and raise the talent level, the floor at least, on the defensive line.
Bear West,
there
Nichols, Jones. He's a good guy in the locker room. He'll be solid on the field. Not spectacular. Yeah. Fair enough.
He hasn't missed a game in 2 years, and that's they're looking for guys that are durable. And Jones has been that, and so is the guy that they picked up from the Raiders.
Carm actually really liked talking to Justin Jones.
I did
while he was here. You guys were buddies.
The dude he torched New England and deflated balls and the whole thing, and I fell in love with him. I absolutely love Justin Jones, which is why Bill Belichick can't find a job, because he's a cheater and he's overrated and he sucks.
That's it. That's the reason. That's right. Bo, I always like to ask our guests this too, especially when they're in different markets, but just what is your view of where the Bears are at? What's ahead of them here, getting Caleb Williams? Just like, what's the outside view from your angle on the Chicago Bears going forward here?
I mean, I think that when we talked about the Cardinals, I think they're a step ahead of the Cardinals in their rebuild. And with quarterback coming in with more arm talent than the previous guy in Justin Fields, I think Caleb Williams could immediately hit the ground running. He's surrounded. I've heard you guys say, and I agree with it. I mean, when has the number one pick come on to a team this talented before? And, I know that there's teams like Green Bay, who's the youngest in the league, and they had their run last year. And, the Lions and their resurgence. It's a tough division, but I think they can immediately make some noise because they have, talent-wise, pretty comparable roster to everybody else. So with Caleb Williams, I think he's the one sure thing as far as quarterbacks in this draft, and he can come in and really light the league on fire right out of the gate. So I think the Bears could easily double-digit wins this season and be in the thick of the playoff hunt.
Yeah, see, I like how you put that, just the Bears being a little ahead of the Cardinals. I feel like the Cardinals are where the Bears were going in the last season, where they ended up with 7 wins. I think but they could have won 3 more games too that they blew. So they were sort of right in that, kind of in the hunt late in the year, pushing for a playoff spot, but just really 1 year away. That's kind of how I view the Cardinals right now. But obviously you guys have a little bit better of a quarterback situation than at least the Bears did last season.
Tell you one thing,
infrastructure for the first time for the quarterback.
Listening to this conversation, and I am partly jealous that the Bears didn't have Tank 2 and ended up with the 1 pick and the 4 pick versus like the meaningless 7 wins with a quarterback improving that we don't have on the roster anymore. And yes, it was cool that they got Montez Sweat and he changed the defense, and I'm excited about it. But if the Bears could be sitting at the 4 pick and getting what the Cardinals could possibly get, I mean,
should have lost to the Cardinals in December.
Should have lost, man. Should have lost.
Fields tried to lose it at one point with that pick in the second half. They were just rolling and could have put their foot on their neck, and then next thing you know, the Cardinals are right back in that game. I think that was like one of the kind of final nails in the coffin for Justin Fields, to be honest with you. And he was all happy after the game, talking trash about the Cardinals defensive line. He's like, yeah, the defensive line stinks.
Yeah, I think he was right about that. Now they got Justin Jones. All right. Bo, thank you so much. Everybody should be following Bo at Bo Brack and PHNX Cardinals as well. And the Cardinals, very relevant to what plays out here in the top 10, top 8 ahead of the Bears pick at number 9. So make sure you're following all of their work and paying attention to what they're doing here in the next couple of weeks leading into the draft night.
And Bo, you're welcome. That Greg Braggs had a friend in Phoenix in our diehard Discord, Matt Gregory, that he stayed with, and not you. So congrats.
Oh, man. Yeah, never even got the call. Braggs is going to join us on our show today. I'm sure he's going to be moping around our studios all day long, kind of his tail between his legs after Purdue's ass kicking they took last night.
Yeah. See, this is just classic Braggs. The Purdue is my vacation. I don't want to work this weekend. I want to unplug. And then here he is. They lose last night. He's got fired off 15 tweets about Caleb Williams this morning, and he's going on PHNX because he's upset he's not on our show. Probably
you took time off during the draft, and I had to work. Nobody lets me take time off. How come I don't get any time off? And now, and you do whatever you want to do. I don't do that.
Wait till I tell him the cost of getting up from 9 to 4. He'll pass out.
Yeah, and then he'll make fun of Carm for being on board with it. All right, Bo, thank you so much. We appreciate it, man. Great as always.
Thanks for having me, man.
There he is, Bo Brack. We love him, and you should be following all their draft coverage here coming up in the next few weeks as well. All right, let me tell you.
Was that my best Braggs? That was a good one, I think. I thought I really...
it was solid. He might murder you for it, but That's your problem, not mine.
Not worried about it.
All right. Well, we're talking about it here. What are the Bears going to do with their picks? Of course, it's anyone's guess at this point. And we've seen some wild selections over the years. We've seen some wild trades like what we were just talking about. But of course, there's one selection that every football fan can share. You guys know this, and that's the nice cold Miller Lite. The draft has definitely changed over the years, but Miller Lite is still the perfect beer for the draft. Honestly, it was the perfect beer last night, too, as I was watching basketball. Don't forget, Miller Lite is a proud sponsor of the Bears. Bear down. Miller Lite knows that beer lovers want their light beer to taste like beer. That's why they brew a light beer that's light on calories and not taste. Because what's the point of having a beer if you can't taste it, Carm?
Damn straight.
There's no point then. So that's why you got to go Miller Lite. So kickoff comes around again, and it's going to come soon. Sooner than you think. Enjoy the beer that tastes like the season. Miller Lite, great taste. 96 calories to get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. That's right. You can do that. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/CHGO football. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
And we've got some breaking news for our draft party. Come on out and enjoy our draft party. Thursday night is sold out, but Friday night is not. Joe's Barn, Weed Street. So Friday, April 26th, 6 to 10, presented by Circa Sports Illinois, Casa Azul, and our friends Dalton and the Sheriffs, who I have communicated with today. I am emailing with Dalton.
They're not letting you in the band, Carm.
You think that comment that is just not true. I absolutely am going to be in the band. And this Dalton, by the way, goes by Scully. That's actually his name. And we are bonding. And I am getting really excited for my role with Dalton, Carm, and the Sheriffs. That is the goal. And we're going to have him on the show coming up at some point. I believe we'll probably do that next week.
Is that the breaking news?
That's the breaking news. We have.
See, I thought the breaking news is that we were going to be giving away 2 signed Javon Dexter jerseys on Friday night.
Oh, well, that's another very important piece of information that I should be relaying to you. 2 signed pieces of Javon Dexter from our friends at Collector's Cave. That is sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's Friday night. Dalton to the Sheriffs are awesome. Hoge's incredible. Braggs is the best. Carm is like minorly okay. Nicholas Morial is going to be out at house, but you know who's going to be there? Gary Fensick's going to be there, and so is Corey Wooten. I mean, come on, let's go. Come on out. ALLCITY.com. Get yourself a ticket. Come on out to our draft party on Friday, April the 26th, when the Bears make, 17 picks on day 2 after them trade down. That's possible. We'll see.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Friday night, Thursday night, completely sold out at this point. Friday is going to be a big night. There's a, I don't know if you know this, Carmen, there's a Hoge table that has been purchased with 10 spots. I might even give away a couple of spots here in the next couple of weeks. We'll see.
That's very nice of you. That's I have no, I don't have tables.
It honestly depends if I have 10 friends or not. But in the meantime, you should get your tickets. They're available now. Go to allchgo.com/events. Click on our party, buy the tickets, come join us Friday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. I'm being told that we have another guest. I have a feeling I know who this is, but it's a surprise guest. He's shirtless. Oh, my God. What's happening, Greg?
Oh, well, hey, say hi to first time caller, long time listener, Matthew Gregory in the house.
What's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Are you guys dating? This looks like you're dating. I mean, seriously.
Should Jenny be worried about what's happened down there this weekend?
If Jenny loved me as much as Matthew Gregory loves me, I would live a much happier life at home.
Wow.
I have no comment on that.
Where are you? Is that the complex that Gregory lives?
Yeah, we're in a hot tub, in the pools over here, jumped in, enjoying my last day. I got to get some sun. Our pool doesn't open at home for another month and a half.
Are you sober?
I'm not drinking today. I got to fly out tonight. I'm going to PHNX here in a little bit. So I drank enough this weekend to kill a horse.
Is that where Matthew Gregory lives?
That's correct.
Wow. take back everything I said about Braggs, you bothering Matthew Gregory, and
I made the right move.
You made a great choice. That's a great move by you.
Right move.
And next time in Phoenix, I'm coming by, Matthew.
He's got a nice gym over here that I took advantage of. Pool, hot tub. We played 18 holes. I drank a fifth of Crown. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, Matt, what was the most offensive thing that Greg did while he was there? Be honest, he's not listening.
Oh man, my dogs don't like him very much, so that's pretty offensive.
That's not true. No, I made him be my chauffeur pretty much all weekend. So I'll speak for. Matt is like the nicest guy in the world. So
do you have 2 bedrooms? 1 bedroom? Yeah. What do we got here?
We got 2.
2. So you gave him his own bedroom. Did he make the bed?
No, I slept on the couch. He's got a roomie, so I had a nice comfy, stay on the couch in the living room, which was fine.
The roommate's the one who's suffering in all this. Is really, if we're being honest.
He ignored me.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Did you fold up the couch each day and put the cushions back in there?
No, every morning by the time I was up, the blankets were folded. Everything was all tidy. Andy was making me breakfast.
Yeah.
Air Jared 54 said Matthew is Greg's liver donor. That's fantastic.
Yeah, took one on the chin last night.
I was going to say, how are you feeling today?
We're fine. Boiler Nation is fine. It was a great season. We've got our heads held high. Nothing wrong with being the second best team in the country, losing to one of the better tournament teams in the last 20 years with UConn. Beating every team they've played in the last 2 years by double digits, and we were just the next one in their path. The one thing I didn't take into account, Purdue being such a great three-point shooting team. Well, it's hard to be a great three-point shooting team when you can't get a shot off, and they had a ton of length and athleticism that kept Purdue from getting anything done from the three-point line. But nice finish to Zach Edey's career.
Let's just talk about this. Northwestern lost them 75-58. Purdue was 75-60.
Mm-hmm.
Cats were missing 2 starters. Cats beat Purdue at home and had them beat on the road.
So you guys should be in the national championship next year. Things are looking up.
The only team to take a half off of UConn in the last 25 games, Northwestern. Cats beat Illinois. Best team in the Big Ten, Northwestern, better than Purdue.
See, well, Carm goes that route. I just wanted you to know that last night I gave up on the game about, 7 or 8 minutes left. And I thought for a second about bumping that video I took last year, mainly because you guys couldn't even get threes off last night, let alone make them. And I was going to retweet the video from last year where I said, Greg, I think Purdue needs some 3-point shooters. And then I drained the 3. And I didn't do it. I didn't do that.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because it would have showed your lack of knowledge with basketball. They're the number 1 3-point shooting team in the country. So UConn has very good defense. It had nothing to do with the fact that Purdue can or can't make threes, but athleticism is a big part of the game, and UConn has it in bunches. So it's what it is. I mean, it wasn't fun to watch a team kick your ass, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's no way you can try to figure out how they could have won the game. Even if they did try to jack up a bunch of threes, they'd have just lost by 35 instead of 17. So it is what it is. I mean, you just got to tip your cap. UConn's the best team in the country. But, I know Mark thinks Purdue's era and reign is over, but don't you worry, Carm. Purdue will be winning the Big Ten next year again.
Okay, Greggy.
But I'm excited. I've moved on. 16 days until Caleb Williams becomes a Bear. So
you did move on. I mean, holy shit.
We
got our Bear Braggs back. He's back, brick by brick, baby.
I'm ready to work. I'm ready to go back to work. I called Jake this morning and said, all right, I guess I'll start doing my job again.
So are you back tomorrow or Thursday? Now I'm confused.
Thursday. I am going to take one more day so I can hug my family. I haven't seen them in a week. So
I would advise you do that and not show them this clip.
Yeah, well, she knows. She knows I'm a jackass. So, but yeah. This is what it's all about. Die-hard family, hanging out, enjoying a nice weekend in Arizona. I'll tell you this much. I'll be doing everything I can in my power to push ALLCITY and our guy Jake to send us, and we all stay at Matthew Gregory's for Bears Cardinals during the season. It makes too much sense. PHNX is down here. The guy that owns Carousel is the guy that owns the DNVR. His name's Scott. Great dude. So we got a spot for our bar. We got a place to stay for free with his dogs and his pool.
I don't think we can all stay there, but okay.
Sounds like a budget-friendly trip. You know, I know we're going to London, so I'm getting greedy here, but we can also go to Arizona. Why not?
Just so you know, as the ultimate me guy, this is the most me interview of all time. The dude let you stay there. You're like in front of Matt Gregory. You won't stop talking.
He's shy. You're making
him
shy.
No, I know.
First of all, Matthew Gregory looks outstanding. I'm glad you guys had a fun weekend. I'm sorry Purdue lost. I really am, because I'm still not over Wisconsin's loss in the national championship game. I would have rather they just got their ass kicked from start to finish rather than lose the way in which they did. So look, it was a good season for Purdue. You get your ass on that plane, spend some time with your family, and we promise the next time Greg Braggs is on this show again, which we believe is Thursday, he will be wearing a shirt.
Yeah, this is many times without a shirt here on this show. You know, somebody's got to do it. So
that's how I had to debut. Best way to debut.
That was a good debut.
It was a great debut for you. All right.
we'll go back to hanging out in paradise. You guys get to work. Carm, make sure you promote the draft on Twitter while I'm gone. One more.
I heard that you not promoting the draft is why Friday is not sold out yet.
Yeah, no, that's it. Don't worry. I was just talking to Dalton today. My guy, Scully.
Yeah, me guy, trying to get on the stage.
Don't worry, Greg. We gave him the promo today. He did it wrong. He missed some important information. I corrected him. He still doesn't even know what he did wrong. It'll be addressed after the show because it was actually kind of important, but we'll fix it for tomorrow.
Did it wrong. Did it wrong.
Bye, boys. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking care of Greg.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Matthew. Don't do it again.
High on the diehard rankings, Matthew Gregory, for sure.
I mean, greatest guy of all time, but should have forced him to stay in a Motel 6. Would have been a lot. I mean, that was good. That was good content. But him in a roadway in would have been almost better content.
That was fantastic. All right. Well, we were going to discuss our worst losses of our lives. We've actually done this before on the show. I'm starting to sense a theme here. I mean, obviously, Chicago sports. It's not like we have it great with all these victories. Cubs last night blowing an 8-0 lead, went to bed, woke up, they lost. Things like that happen. The obvious answer for this show, so we're going to kind of exclude it, is that the Bears lost that Super Bowl that one time. That wasn't very fun, and remember that I've told the story before, that miserable drive home back to Madison the next day after losing that game. So kind of beyond that, for me, it is losing the national championship game in 2015 to Duke. And I told Braggs this before he went down to Arizona. The one thing I'd feel good about if I'm a Purdue fan, they're still going to be good. Like Matt Painter's in a good spot there. They're going to find more talent. They've been hitting that transfer portal well. They're going to be fine. My program is what the program's been for 30 years now. Okay. And they had a 2-year spike that they'll probably not replicate again because Bo Ryan's not their coach anymore. And I knew that the morning of that game, and they were up 11 in the second half. Actually, I think it was 9. They were up 9 in the second half, in total control of the game, and didn't close it out. Coach K started whining to the refs, got every call the rest of the way. And then there was this little punk freshman that came on the scene and had his coming out party. And that may sound harsh until I tell you who it is. Do you remember who it is?
No, sir.
Grayson Allen.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
I mean, it was the most painful way to lose the game. I honestly would have rather played UConn last night and just known halfway through the first half that we're playing as good as we possibly can and we're still losing by 4. Okay, this is not going to go well once UConn gets their run. It was tough. So I'm still not over it. I hope Greg can take solace in the fact that his program's still going to have another chance. Mine's not. I'm convinced Wisconsin will never have a chance to win the national championship again.
That was a great run, though, and you guys were lovely. I'm sorry it didn't happen for you.
The NFC Championship game against Packers is a good call, too.
That was brutal. The double doink, actually.
It's on the list.
It was not it wasn't great. And I remember standing there with Dan Hampton, who had a cup in his hand, and the double doink happens. He whips it against the wall, and
that's fantastic.
and we walked from the conference room to the studio to do the show, and it was just like, that is just straight brutal. But nothing can top 2003 Game 6. I was vending, selling beer, and they're up 3-0. I'm done for the day because you're at end of the 7th, you're done, and I'm checking my phone, and my friends are leaving me messages. When you get done, if you want to have a party, we're having a party in section 218. We're having a party at 218. So I'm walking from the right field corner to 218, which is behind home plate. Used to be before they changed all their sections. Still basically is. And as the 8th inning unfolded, and there was some fan, I forget his name, down the left field line, and I believe there was a Mark Pryor on the mound, and the shortstop Alex Gonzalez booted a ground ball. And then Kyle Farnsworth gave up the double off the wall, and I left. I left the stadium as my friend Jared Rolski was crying in the back of the left field corner because I literally couldn't handle it. And then Game 7, seeing this 3 Marlins fans run down to the dugout to celebrate the Marlins beating the Cubs, and then being on the concourse afterwards and seeing a dolly of T-shirts, World Series T-shirts, rolling by me.
I bought one.
Nothing can top that.
See, you probably remember this because I've told you this before, but I was on Waveland that night. And not in the stadium, but I was on Waveland. I rode my bike there on my own, nobody else, and I just took in the scene. And then
That's awesome.
And then I was almost blaming myself for the jinx because I moved over to Sheffield where my buddy has season tickets. He was, kind of along the fence on Sheffield. So I knew exactly where he came out, what gate, and I was going to go celebrate with him. And so I moved to the other corner. And by the time I got over there and I could hear the groans and everything, you kind of knew what was happening even without knowing what was happening because you're outside the stadium. I'm like, oh man, I jinxed it by moving. And they had those shirts and I bought one. I think it cost $10 and it was a Cubs World. It's the only piece of Cubs clothing I've ever owned. And now it kind of feels like a troll move before trolling was even a thing.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get yourself to buy that shirt? I thought you were like diehard.
I was a White Sox fan.
Okay.
And it said Cubs World Series, and they didn't make the World Series.
Oh, so you were
a great shirt.
You were brilliant. You knew they were losing Game 7, and yeah. Okay.
I went to Game 7 because my buddy I'm talking about, shout out to Keith, invited me because I forget which member of his family didn't go. I think it was his mom. I think was convinced they were losing, and she wasn't wrong.
Keith had no other friends who were Cub fans. He took you,
my best friend, man. I would take you. So if I had an extra ticket, Game 7, White Sox, I would invite you.
No, you wouldn't. Not.
You're right. I would invite Keith. I'd pay him back.
That is a very nice Keith. But I got to be honest, Keith needs some more friends. You go into Game 7, Cubs, Marlins. You don't take the White Sox fan who's even your best friend. You tell him.
No one wanted to go. They all knew they were losing. That's a real thing, and you know it.
That is a real thing. And it literally was the worst pregame atmosphere ever. And I was walking around, hey, let's get up here. Little positivity. It's not over yet. Cub fans, but
also, further proof, I did buy the shirt, and I kind of do. There's one thing about Braggs that's correct. I do hedge on these things, but part of the reason why he invited me is because I wanted the Cubs to win. Okay, I have no problem. I want my friends to be happy. I was rooting for Purdue last night. I was rooting for Iowa the day before. The problem is all my friends' favorite teams, they keep losing. That's not my fault.
Yeah. All right, fine. The Ricky Pruitt show, you mentioned one of the ones we talked about pregame. LeBron's 3 over Jimmy. The D Rose had hit a game winner in Game 3, a banker. It was Tibbs last season. By the way, Tibbs in town tonight. Somehow I'm going to get him on the show tomorrow. That's my goal. That's not happening, but I'm going to try. And then, the Bulls were right there in Game 4. LeBron hits the game winner. They play a close Game 5, lose Game 6. Tibbs walks out of the building. Bulls haven't been relevant since.
Yeah, that was without a doubt. That one hurt a lot. Kevin Kalick brought up 94 game 7, lost to the Knicks. That's got to be on the list. I feel like there was another one in there too. But
you know what's sick about the 94 thing is that I wanted the Bulls to lose that game because I knew 20 years later that people were going to tee up that, see, they didn't need Jordan, didn't need Mike. I knew it. And then there's people out there like morons like Nick Wright, who's coming on the show next week, who like to make that argument. And I have to get in a screaming match with the guy at the Combine who wanted to tee up while they were so good against him. How come they almost beat the Knicks without him? I wanted the Bulls to lose that series.
Oh man.
That's sick. But
Brack said if your team's good and you see Hoge run, whatever, man. I hosted the post-game shows with Carman on WGN radio when they won the World Series. So shut up.
It's true.
I'm the reason why the Cubs won the World Series. How about that?
Hoge was a solid Cubs supporter in 15 and 16. Those were some good shows, man.
I was the only one upset in 15 when they got swept by the Mets. I'm like, you were non-competitive in the NLCS. No other Cubs fans were mad about it. And I was like, what the hell? They didn't show up.
Because they beat the Cardinals in the playoffs. Well,
accepting mediocrity. That was what was wrong.
They knew the Cub fans knew they were winning it in 2016. All
right.
It was fait accompli.
Let's get to super chat shout outs and our diehards here. Let's super chat it up. We got Nuke. Matt Nuku, $9.99. My meatball take. Trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Pair Caleb Williams with another generational prospect in the draft. Do whatever you can to help Caleb make the landing soft. Probably won't happen, but a man can dream. Bear down.
Dream it up, Nuku. When I dream of you, Nuku. You are my guy. Appreciate you. I don't want to get too uncomfortable here, but
you've already done that many times with Nuke.
Nuku just makes the world a better place. Thank you, brother.
Old Man Gaming TV 1975 $4.99 says, I would love to hear you discuss who we could trade the number 9 to for our first, second, and fourth or fifth, and what we could select there. So essentially trading back. Good news. We did a whole show on this. I think that was last week, right? We all did our trade back proposals.
Yeah, that's true. We did. That did happen.
So go back in the YouTube feed here, CHGO YouTube channel, and or in the podcast feed, and you can find that episode, and you get a whole episode on it, all the scenarios.
Yeah, hey, Old Man Gaming TV, it's on the board. The Bears trade back
1,000%. Yeah.
So trading up seems a lot less likely.
Mine was, I think, with the Broncos, if I remember right, trading back to 12. Bear Down Omaha, $5. If any CHGO goes to the College World Series, I'll buy you a beer in Omaha.
I'm on my way, Bear Down.
I've never been there. Seems like an awesome time, though.
Omaha doesn't get a lot of love, but deserves love. People love living there. So,
yeah,
you kind of are in Omaha, Nebraska, but he's in Bear. But I'm sure.
Omaha hosted one of the they hosted, I think, first, second round of the tournament, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think so. Phil Pizzatola, we know this guy. He loves you mostly. $5. Pizzatola coming in. Carm, my guy, good to see you. You can stay at my place and we can be on the show. Just keep your shirt on.
Where does Pizzatola live? I feel like he's down the block. He's like in the neighborhood.
He's probably your neighbor.
We might need to get an address for Pizzatola and have lunch. Let's go at
Please
this point.
Share it publicly. All right. Shout outs for the show. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, as we close the book on that, I would just like to give a shout out to Iron Eagle. It is not easy following a legend like Jim Nance and taking over. I don't know about you. Did you even, and I love Jim Nance, and I can't wait for the Masters to start this week, which is really like Jim Nance's peak for me. But did you even forget? Like, I forgot. Iron Eagle was so good, didn't even miss Jim Nance. Like, I was like, I forgot Jim Nance even did this for 30 years or whatever it was.
He's a lot more excitable than a professional Jim Nance. Let's say that. He gives you that bounce. He gives you the Iron Eagle. And he goes at Mike Fratello when he's doing Nets broadcasts. Dude's doing a hell of a job. Did you see
that?
That
was fake. That was a bit.
That was a bit?
I think it was. I think we learned later that it was an old clip and it was a bit.
I don't think so, bud. Maybe I missed it, which is possible, but I'm pretty certain it wasn't. Either way, the guy's phenomenal at his job. It's a worthy shout out. I'm shouting out the Red Stars, who have partners.
Okay.
That would be women's soccer. Hoge, Grace Carman.
I know.
My great niece, the most amazing soccer player there is. Colleges, you should be paying attention to Lane Tech. Took it, tough loss last night to New Trier, but they will bounce back. The Red Stars are playing at Wrigley Field on June the 8th, Saturday night. And I think it's a great job promoting the game, man. Get yourself in at Wrigley.
That's cool.
That's going to bring out some casual fans who normally haven't seen the Red Stars. I'll be one of those people. So I just think it's super cool that they're playing at Wrigley. Looking forward to going to that game. Hopefully the great Grace Carman will join me.
That I will say that's cool. I would enjoy that.
I'd also like to shout out Rick Aguayo, who kicked my ass last night in my worst loss of the season. I already did it once today, but congratulations to Rick. Yeah, well, he said to me, he's like, "You really were terrible tonight." Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. Have a good night. See you next time, Rick.
It's fantastic. All right, you want to shout out our new diehards?
Oh, I do. It is it's a twosome Tuesday. 2 for Tuesday on the diehard list. And our first guy is Vince. Vince Sanity. Best hops going. When he gets in the paint, he doesn't lay it in. He rises up and throws it down with authority. My man Vince, sweet, and he is fun. Just absolutely makes a dynamite chicken parm as well. My guy Vince. And then number 2 is Anthony. Anthony, I would not have graduated from the University of Iowa without you. Thank God you showed up, my guy from Hartford, and visited me during spring break and just walked into that chemistry test and took the midterm for me. Anthony, thank you so much, because I wouldn't have made it. And you got me through. I'd have to go back to college right now. I don't think they could take my degree away at this point. But Anthony, thank you for knowing chemistry well enough to literally step into the University of Iowa and take a test for me. Anthony, my guy.
Look, there's a lot of perks to becoming a CHGO diehard, and it's not just the weird Carm shout out you get. We would like to stress, I feel the need, I'm not a lawyer, but after what transpired on the show today, I feel the need to put a disclaimer on this show and just know to anybody thinking about becoming a diehard or maybe already is a diehard, you are not required to host a shirtless Greg Braggs at your house and swim with him in a pool. That is not one of the requirements of becoming a diehard. The only requirement is that when you do sign up, you select your free shirt. You get a free shirt. You get 20% off all merch from that point. In fact, you get a free shirt every year. When you renew, you get another one. And then you get 20% off all merch in between and our events. So if you're thinking about coming to the draft party on Friday night, which is the only night we still have tickets left, make sure you're a diehard, because you will get that discount and you can come join us. It's going to be a great time. We have 2 Javon Dexter jerseys, signed Javon Dexter jerseys that we're going to be giving away on that Friday night, presented by Circus Sports Illinois, Collectors Cave helping out with those jerseys, of course, and Casa Azul, also a partner of our draft day. Become a diehard, come to the draft show, and then on top of that, come to London with us too. If you want to go ultra big time level, London, all the details, truefantravel.com. They're taking fully refundable deposits right now, and then you can figure out the details later. It's the best way if you're trying to plan your Bears trip to London right now, since we don't even know the date of the game. Sign up with us. Come with us. We're going to have a week-long, I don't know how many days exactly, but events every single day, including a tailgate, tickets to the game. It's all there included in the price. So go and get those deposits in right now. Great show today. We got a lot more coming the rest of the week. 2 big guests already on the docket. Might be adding a third as well. Just getting started on this Tuesday, and plenty more coming Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday the rest of the week as we inch closer and closer to the draft. Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you to Matthew Gregory for taking care of Greg Braggs Jr. and helping him survive the Final Four, unlike Purdue. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.